It's a big day if you're an Indian football fan for the very simple reason that the Indian football team are going to be contesting the final of the SAFF Championships today, and they will be taking on a pretty strong Kuwait side. Now, of course, this SAFF Cup has plenty of relevance if you're looking at Indian football. Of course, recently they won the Intercontinental Cup, which admittedly is just an organization of a few friendly matches between a few nations. That being said, SAFF Cup is something that India have won 8 times prior, so of course they're gunning for a 9th title. But not just that, there are bigger issues and bigger ramifications at play if you're a fan of Indian football. And in this video, we're going to be talking about not just this particular final, but why a win here would be very, very important for India going forward in the broader scheme of things. But before we go into the broader scheme of things, just quickly look at how it is that this is important for India in this particular SAFF Cup itself, in this tournament. Now, obviously, India's route to the final has been a pretty straightforward one in many ways. Started off with a nice thrashing of Pakistan, 4-0, whet the appetites of a lot of people. And thereafter, Indian football fans knew that it was only a case of one more win and you're as good as through to the semis. That's exactly what happened when they took on Nepal. Now, obviously, when they took on Nepal, because Nepal are much weaker opposition, India fielded a much weaker side, a much changed 11, dare I say. And even though they labored, they got the win, ensured they're through to the semis. And then the biggest test when they took on Kuwait, who they will be taking on in this particular final, 1-1 was that match. And it was a pretty tricky match where both teams had plenty of chances, but unfortunately neither was able to get that key winning goal. Of course, India will feel more hard done by due to that particular match because they were able to restrict Kuwait very well, and it was only an own goal that ended up giving Kuwait a goal. And of course, thereafter Lebanon they drew 0-0 in the end of regulation time as well as extra time. And thereafter, when it came to the penalty shootout, that's when they were as clinical as they could be. 4-2 on penalties. It was an easy victory in many ways for the Indian team. And in many ways, Kuwait's route was pretty similar because again, Kuwait and India were the favorites to go through in their group. Kuwait, well, they beat Nepal 3-1 in their first match. Thereafter, they too ended up beating Pakistan 4-0 and then drew 1-1 versus India. This was the route for Kuwait as well. Of course, the one difference between India and Kuwait when it comes to their route to the final was that Kuwait were able to get the match done in regulation time. It wasn't the easiest of win. It was 1-0, and Bangladesh, to their credit, played really, really well. It was just one small lapse of concentration that ended up giving Kuwait the opening that they needed to get that one all-important winner. But this match is very much going to be a challenging one for India if you go by not just recent history in terms of the match that they only played in this particular tournament, but also how it is that these two teams stack up. Kuwait are one of the strongest teams in this tournament, as are India. So naturally, you're expecting that this will be a much harder fought match than you've seen from, say, India and Pakistan, or India Nepal, or Kuwait Pakistan and Kuwait Nepal. This is going to be a very strong match. So for India, of course, it's a big challenge, but more important than actually just looking at how it is that India will fare in this tournament, it is key to note that a win in the SAFF Cup final would actually be having longer term ramifications as well. Here's a quick look at the ramifications, and we'll look at that before I go over each and every point one by one. First is that they will, of course, be winning a 9th SAFF Cup title. Right now, India have won 8, and obviously 9 will be unprecedented because right now itself, India are the one team that have won this tournament the most number of times. More important than that, though, is the fact that they will keep their current FIFA ranking. Remember, they recently broke back into the top 100, and if they win this match, they stay there once FIFA publishes the next set of updated rankings come the later parts of this month in July. More important than that, of course, is the fact that if they keep their current FIFA ranking, it will ease their path to the World Cup qualifiers and also give them momentum ahead of the Asian Cup, which is set to be held towards the end of this year. Now, let's go over point 3 and point 4 one by one. How will it ease their path to the World Cup qualifiers, you would ask? Well, because the path to the World Cup qualifiers is, it's pretty simple for the most part. The teams that are ranked higher in Asia based on the FIFA rankings are put into pots. Now, you remember that pot 1 of the qualifiers, which of course the Asian qualifiers will be for both the AFC Asian Cup as well as the FIFA World Cup. So pot 1 will feature the top 9 ranked teams. pot 2 will feature the teams ranked from 10th to 18th. As things stand, because India are ranked 100th, it means that they are the 18th highest ranked team in Asia. So if they keep this ranking, it means they get drawn in pot 2. If they get drawn in pot 2, it gives them an easier chance of not only sealing the AFC Asian Cup qualification, but potentially making it into round 2 of the FIFA World Cup qualifiers as well. Remember, the last time India were part of this process, they ended up getting drawn in pot 3 with much tougher opposition. They were with the likes of Oman and Jordan, and truth be told, it wasn't an easy route from them thereafter, because they knew for a fact that these teams getting past them would be next to impossible. But if they are drawn in pot 2, they will avoid some of Asia's heavyweights, and even if not necessarily qualifying for the World Cup, could very well make it to the second round, and that itself will be important and represent some degree of progress. But I will also say this, India do have a very minutely outside chance of qualifying, for the simple reason that come 2026 you're going to be seeing an expanded World Cup. Asia's spots in that particular tournament have also gone up, so India do actually stand a chance, because the previous time it would have been much harder. Now it's been made a little easier, considering there's going to be 48 teams contesting the tournament, and also momentum ahead of the Asian Cup. Now the AFC Asian Cup will be held in the middle of the football season, and that is of course because the tournament is taking place in Qatar. Now why is this momentum important? Well, for the very simple reason that when the season is ongoing, there won't be that many international matches. At best, maybe India will play 2 or 3 friendlies in the build-up to that tournament, and that's if they're lucky, because again, most of the players will at that point have reported back to their clubs and will be playing not just pre-season, but even in-season fixtures. Most of these players will be playing for their ISL teams, so it won't be that easy for the national coach Igor Stimac to have them all together. So right now, if the more they win, the better the team bonding, the better the momentum, and the better the understanding tactically of how it is they want to play. All of these things, the broader picture consensus when you're looking at how it is that India need to be, approaching this final. So the SAFF Cup final, of course, it is a big match. It's a final of a tournament that is definitely important, but for India, they're also going to be keeping one eye on the bigger picture, because again, there is so much more to be gained if they win this title than there is if they lose the title. So that's it from us. That's our preview of the big match. You can let us know how excited you are in the comments below, and don't forget, like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTak app, and stay tuned to Sports Today. We'll be bringing you plenty more happenings from the world of sport. But for now, from my side, it is good.